Hair looks terrible. Great. Excellent. I think we're ready. We're ready to go. Don't need that. Hey everyone, this is Coffee. Coffee with Soul. This is the thing where I run the clock for a little bit before we start to play video games. It's where I chat with folks and, sometimes answer questions or bring up topics and etc. But yes, let's just get right to saying hello to folks. What's up to Jalzon? You're the first person to say hi. Hello to you. What's up to Cammy? What's up to Fallen? What's up to Flan? What's up to DeGrissimer? Let's say hi to the Gilded Canary. What's up to Coffee Fiend? What's up to Russ? What's up to Cries? What's up to 619 Cashman? Hello, first time saying hi from you. And what's up to Shadow Grove? And of course, what's up to all the beautiful digital smiling faces that are going to be joining us today. I'm going to answer some questions from folks that people sent me from over on the YouTubes. They sent me more than like 2 questions, so I very much appreciate that. But first, how was your weekend? There was a very interesting little dust up. I should say a little dust up over on Twitter from a certain person, and I'm so let me kind of set this up. This person's name is John Gibson. He is the president of a game studio called Tripwire Studios, and they are known for very explosive hits like Killing Floor and Killing Floor 2, Rising Storm. The one thing that comes to mind is Chivalry. I've heard of the game. I've never played it. But the fact that I've at least heard of it must mean that it must be like cool, because as someone who's never played it or never knew anything about it, at least I got the name recognition. So at least the marketing was there, or at least people enjoyed it. But yeah, this guy, John Gibson, over on Twitter just a couple of days ago. So on September 4th, this person said the following in a tweet. He said, "Proud of #US Supreme Court affirming the Texas law banning abortion for babies with a heartbeat. As an entertainer, I don't get political often, yet with so many vocal peers on the other side of the issue, I felt it was important to go on the record as a pro-life game developer." And as far as I know, he said nothing else in a follow-up with this thread. And this tweet gained traction hella fast. It got to trending like super quick. It was all over the place. People were giving their takes on it. And when I saw it, I was like, ooh, this guy he's in deep shit. Because first off, for people here live and on the VOD, I'm not getting political here. Where this person's stance is on abortion, it's not important. That's not what we're talking about here. I mean, it's so closely related to it, but what baffles me about this tweet, or about just like the balls of this guy, is that he made it from the position that he's in. So whatever your beliefs are, whatever your stance is on the political divide, which is super divisive, it's yours. Own it, vote however you like, vote however you feel. I'm not here to push one way or another. However, when you're in a position of, the way I see it, when you're in a position of leadership, when you're like the president and you're kind of like the face of that company, and when you speak, you voluntarily, involuntarily, you speak for that company. That's where I obviously don't even have complete thoughts here, but you're going to get in hella trouble for something like that, because what you say risks not just representing, but misrepresenting other people who are part of your company. There are consequences to sharing your views and expressing them. Like, as an individual, you might say, oh, well, I believe in this and this and this. And you say it loud and proud over on social media or whatever. And then you're going to get like a whole crap ton of people who are going to be like, oh yeah, I'm with you, dude. Hell yeah. And you're going to get a crap ton of people that are like, hey, I'm totally not with you. Hell no. And you'll get that sort of that sort of discourse is going to come, and it's all thanks to you. Congratulations. But and that's fine if someone wants to do that too, because they want to express their beliefs and they want to, if they feel like purging their friend list or follower list or whatever of people who don't vibe with them, that's totally fine. That is totally fine. When you run a company though, and this company is not, and this company creates video games that are, for the most part, meant to attract a wide audience, as the boss of this company, it's in your interest to protect your company, to protect your studio, to keep as much of that audience as possible. So when you say something like this, something that's just divisive, that causes risk, and people, and your investors and whatnot, they're going to pay attention. So here's what happened. Like, here we go. Check this. September 4th is when this guy made the tweet, 1:04 p.m. 2 days later, 2 days later, Tripwire appoints new interim CEO, Alan Wilson, as company moves forward. Let me read this aloud. The comments given by John Gibson are of his own opinion and do not reflect those of Tripwire Interactive as a company. His comments disregarded the values of our whole team, our partners, and much of our broader community. Our leadership team at Tripwire are deeply sorry and are unified in our commitment to take swift action and to foster a more positive environment. Effective immediately, John Gibson has stepped down as CEO of Tripwire. Co-founding member and current vice president Alan Wilson will take over as interim CEO. Alan has been with the company since its formation in 2005 and is an active lead in both the studio's business and developmental affairs. Alan will work with the rest of the Tripwire leadership team to take steps with employees and partners to address their concerns, including executing a company-wide town hall meeting and promoting open dialogue with Tripwire leadership and all employees. His understanding of both the company's culture and the creative vision of our games will carry the team through this transition with full support from the other Tripwire leaders. So, again, this is not about the actual political stance that John Gibson took. It's not about pro-abortion, anti-abortion, whatever. It's about this very carefully worded, highlighted statement that the comments are of his own opinion and do not reflect those of Tripwire Interactive as a company. So it's the problem of the boss misrepresenting the company itself, and again, risks alienating the audience with divisive statements like these. His comments, and it reflects here, his comments disregarded the values of our whole team, which is to say, some people are with him on this, but that's not the point. His comments disregarded the values of our whole team, our partners, and much of our broader community. Again, you're risking splitting your audience into uneven halves. Our leadership team at Tripwire are deeply sorry and are unified in our commitment to take swift action, yada, yada, yada. So that's ultimately that's all it was. It's not about being for or against abortion. It's just, you started shit. You don't want to start stuff as the boss of the company because, again, you don't want to misrepresent. Over at Activision Blizzard and King and whatnot, you're seeing statements made by executive leadership that clearly fly in the face of many of its employees who just don't agree with it. That's something that is a little bit less controversial. It's this has to do with harassment and things that lawfully may be considered assault and things like that. So again, that's it's just baffling. Now, of course, I don't know what this dude's motivation was. I mean, maybe it was to ultimately try to galvanize people who think along the same lines as him. But again, if you're making a video game company and your video game company isn't already if the content, which from what I'm seeing here, it's all it's your basic gamer stuff. It's like violent stuff and all that that sends a certain message. If the game studio was like a super hard religious leaning, we make religious games and we try to promote a certain message, it's totally fine. Then a position like what John Gibson made wouldn't do anything because he's only talking to his audience. That's fine. That's totally fine. In this case, though, it did not work the same way. And so again, Fee, this is not an abortion thing. This is a, I want to try to keep myself clean of that. This is I started a mess, and it's totally my fault. Totally this person's fault, and they really, really, really shouldn't have done that. But yeah, if you have thoughts on, please keep the abortion stuff thoughts out of the conversation. But what do you think? Was this guy in the right for oversharing, or should he have just shut up and kept to what his thing is? Like, vote, sure, go ahead and vote, go ahead and donate, but being super loud and proud of it, it's pretty clear, homies, that there are consequences to what you do, and depending on your position in the world, it really might not be a good idea to bring something up like that. 2 days, that's all it took. One tweet, and in 2 days, you're gone. I believe he's still at the company. He just kind of stepped down. His role is now nebulous, and I think it's just, whatever contractual agreements that are in place, he can't just get fired, or he can't just simply be let go. Not yet. They're probably in the process. I mean, there were other people that made there were companies that partnered with Tripwire that said, hey, we're no longer going to work with you because of these statements and yada yada yada. So like there's just really strong reverberations that come from something like this. But again, it's mostly, why be so divisive with what you're trying to do? So anyway, let's get back to talking with the chat just a little bit. And I haven't even had my coffee. I just poured it, and I at least want it to cool for a little bit. But yeah, I hope everyone had a good weekend. I happened to watch Shang-Chi. It was dope. It was a very good movie. It's not going to be on, for those who are skittish about going out to the theater, it's going to be on Disney Plus, I believe, like 40 some days from now. But it's a really good flick. It's just fun. It's whimsy. It's not too serious, but it brings up, serious stuff. Like yeah, there's nothing that I really didn't like about it, except for, as always, the villain. But I'm not going to spoil anything. It was just a good movie. And if you weren't thinking of watching it, whatever, no big deal. If you're thinking about watching it, let me try to push you over the fence there and be like, yeah, just go ahead and do it. So some people, like chat here, is pointing out, and I did read around a little bit, that Tripwire Studios, that company, some of their games do send, they do have sort of vibes to them. They do, like they have certain messages. I believe like Gibson's band, they played there's like recorded music from their band, which are like Christian bands, which kind of tells you a little bit too. But you have a little bit of, some of that influence in there. And nothing that I can really cite off the top of my head. I remember seeing a picture of them, and it looked like, I don't remember, but it looked like there was like one lady and a whole bunch of white dudes, which again says nothing, but okay, it says a little bit. It says a little bit about what sort of culture might be fostered and what might be tolerated in there, given that there's only one female in the company that I know of. Well, you got an ale tap. So Menergy over here has an ale tap in his, wow, an ale tap, not just a beer tap, but an ale tap. I don't know if that makes any difference. Okay, and then I'm reading some abortion related stuff. Sorry. Again, like the whole what the message was is not as important as just the fact that it was super divisive, and it's just not a good idea. Funny how I'm the only one who can interrupt you from watching. So I put out a video just earlier. I put out a video like an hour or two ago that talked about how I fixed WoW. I fixed it, right? So if you either now or later, just pop off and go take a look at it. I talked about it's a lot to talk about, but I talked about how to create some more longevity, create some more relevance with World of Warcraft gameplay out in the world, where at least at the moment, we just go through, we skip a lot of content. Like a lot of the old content that once was, we just kind of skip over it. We never really see it unless we want to farm for transmog or pets or mounts or whatever. So the idea that I have, just a really, really brief summary. The idea that I have is to introduce currencies like justice points or valor points and put that stuff all over the world, game wide. It'll drop from Molten Core. It'll drop from Sanctum of Domination. It'll drop from Mythic Plus, and whatever content is most current, as in like the season, you get like a value of 1, right? But when you do content out of season, then you get a value of like, I don't know, 0.1 or something like that. Like you get small, tiny bits of this currency, but it goes towards max level content. So you can potentially buy your way into getting like heroic level gear if you just keep farming Warlords of Draenor content like day in and day out. I mean, it's woefully inefficient, but I wanted to create a sort of system that will last forever. It's an evergreen system. It's not just an expansion feature. Create a system that gives like a small bit of relevance to the side content that you do that'll still go towards max level stuff. And then I talked about some other cool things like being able to buy entire ensemble sets from old content. I'm not talking about buying tier 3 content, stuff that's no longer available, like Naxxramas and from vanilla. I'm just talking about, hey, you want to complete your Throne of Thunder sets? Here is a way to do it. That is not just hoping that you get all the drops or hoping that you keep farming the instance and whatnot, but it's not going to include everything. So maybe not weapons or maybe not a certain thing, but almost the entire ensemble. That way it'll still encourage people to like go out and farm, knowing that they can at least spend currency from clearing that content to buy ensembles or even high level gear. And it was a really fun one to write. I wrote it hella fast. I wrote it so fast, like it looks super disorganized because I was just like, oh man, the ideas are just flying off the wall, and it was a lot of fun. So take a listen to that. I encourage you, pretty please. It's somewhere on the playlist. But there is something that I also want to talk about this week, and that is the growing discourse over wanting to dissolve the faction divide. And I've beaten it. It's not a dead horse, but boy, am I beating the crap out of it. I've been like nonstop with sharing my feelings on it and how things should go. And the common refrain that I get is that it's coming from players and coming from the WoW team as well, that the faction divide or having these factions, it's like the heart and soul of the Warcraft franchise. And I want to say, no, it's not. So here's me kind of brainstorming with myself right now, and y'all can share with me that Warcraft, it very much is about conflict. It started with orcs versus humans, and then it ballooned into other things, and then a big part of that, the orcs versus humans, it turned into Horde versus Alliance, and so we have that. But Warcraft is more than that too. Warcraft, even early on in the RTS and the Warcraft 3 is what really highlights it, is that it's also about opposing forces coming together to stop the bigger bad. If you guys remember the Warcraft 3 story, it starts off with kind of the aftermath. It starts off with the aftermath of war. There's still bad blood, divisiveness, and all that stuff. But you also have the burning frickin' Legion coming in, spawning the undead and yada yada yada. You have this other faction that the orcs and humans and night elves, that they all band together to, and the undead to a certain extent, they all band together to beat this back. So that's also an essential pillar of the Warcraft franchise, overcoming differences and and going after like the greater threats. And we've seen that historically throughout the world of Warcraft as well. We see it with pirates. We see it with the Earthen Ring. We see it with all these other factions. There are tons of factions that don't care what race you are, that don't care what your previous faction affiliation was. You know, you want to help us out? Yeah, well, help us out because we're fighting something greater. Even during vanilla, the AQ war, that was Horde and Alliance coming together under Sarfang, and they all beat back the bug dudes. And we've seen that all throughout WoW's history because, well, among other things, the players need to come together somehow so they can do all the same content. Otherwise, you're making two separate games, the Horde game and the Alliance game, and that wouldn't, that would have been a whole lot more work than normal, which is fine. So I'm going to work up a video where I talk about that and I go with that angle. And again, I'm going to reiterate this idea that I have of how exactly like this faction dissolving would work, because it hasn't taken off, because maybe it's not popular, maybe it's not making sense to folks, even though I've been kind of pounding away at that idea throughout multiple videos in my content creating career, whatever. So let me see. Any chat that I missed? Okay. Tripwire has a better PR team than Blizzard. Well, actually, I wouldn't say they have a better PR team because PR can't fire. PR can't make a president step down. It kind of tells you something. I even talked about it before. It tells you something about the investors who run Activision Blizzard, that they're okay with a lot of these things. What they're not okay with is getting caught. So, yeah. Let's see. Gilded Canary says he should have kept his personal opinions to himself. I think what he said, I think saying it on Twitter, the way that he said it, was not cool. With so many vocal peers on the other side of this issue, I felt it was important to go on the record as a pro-life game developer. That just didn't sit with me right, unfortunately. And it doesn't. And even if you're on the other side, you take risks by saying that, and you don't see you don't see this often. You don't often see the president of a company saying something like that. If you're just a developer who says something like that, yeah, you might get, there's a reasonable chance you might get canned or a slap on the wrist being like, hey dude, you can't be saying that kind of stuff because even though you say, my opinions don't express the rest of the comment, it still makes us look bad or whatever. So can you stay out of it? And some companies are like that. When you're the president, though, there's this unwritten, the way I see it, there's this unwritten obligation that your first priority is to the success of your company. You don't want to jeopardize that, and sending a tweet can jeopardize that. It caused contracts to end and that sort of thing. Sharing your opinions are totally fine. What we're seeing here are the consequences of doing it, and there might be a lesson to learn. It might cause other folks that would want to speak out to be a bit more private about it, which I think is kind of a bad thing. But again, when you're a president and what you say does matter, it matters. I don't know how else to word that. Azure says no, he shouldn't shut up. How else will you trim down the fat? Damn. I feel like some jobs in places. Shadowgrove says I feel that at some jobs and places, being vocal of their opinions can bring shit shows to your job, personal life. However, you're allowed to have your opinion and people can like it or not. Okay, yeah, I'm totally cool with that, but consequences. If a Magic Raps says if an employee did it, they should be fired, or they would be fired. So it should be the same for the CEO. Yeah, there's no difference here, but the consequences of making a statement like that are far greater, because as the executive, people will listen to you, not just the audience, but the people who work under you. Do you only apply that type of value of keeping opinions off social media to C-suite people, or would you bring that to developers too? It depends on the level of influence that you have with the team, or otherwise how high profile that you are. Because then it's up to the company to be like, okay, do we value this person enough with their with their opinions or not? Now again, like I really am skittish about saying you shouldn't share your opinions at all. Just that you got to read the room too. There's consequences to that sort of thing, because otherwise, if we told everyone, oh, you can't share your opinions, then, well, what's the point of social media? The point of social media is to let us share our opinions and that sort of thing. It's just that there are costs to pay here. Let's see. It's like someone saying Ian is the best dev that came to WoW. It's like someone saying Ian is the best dev that came to WoW team. The roasts. I'm not quite sure what you're saying there. Let's see. I'm way behind on chat. Now you guys are talking about Shang-Chi. Shit. Cammy says it does matter what the message was, though. Right now, everyone's eyes are on women in gaming, and it's a stance on women's issue from someone on gaming. Maybe, but this felt really irresponsible. Or maybe I'm not. Maybe we're not talking about the right things. Shark says, I like the ideas on the ballot and justice points. Yay! I'm curious if you ever made a video where Blizzard implemented the AI. I'm curious if you've ever made a video where Blizzard. No, and even then, it would just be by coincidence. Like earlier, I said, hey, here's how the campaign skip should work. Not only should it. Not only should we be able to complete the campaigns, we should get the renown that comes from it. It's just coincidence. Just because I happen to have like the same, the same idea. That's all it was. Hey, campaign skip, give us a thing. A lot of folks were saying, hey, give us a renown skip, yada yada yada. I'm like, oh, let's look at it from a different angle. Again, I'm not going to take credit for something like that. I'd only take credit if it was like, okay, here's like my full player housing idea. And here's exactly how it works. And if they cut and paste that, then I'd be like, huh, that's a really weird coincidence, huh. But no, I'm not going to. I'm not going to ever presume to take credit for anything except for just spreading the message or spreading the word, and that's it. Mo, any other political thing he could have said maybe wouldn't have been so harshly reprimanded. Would it? I mean, if you were to say, I firmly believe in like open carry and blah, blah, blah. And I feel like it was important to go on the record as a pro open carry game developer, which is kind of scary because like some of the games, have a lot of guns and that sort of thing. It could have been treated with the same response from folks, because again, it's a very divisive thing. If this guy were to say, if John Gibson were to say, I feel very strongly that over on Peach Street, where the cross street is between my studio and whatever, there's a missing stop sign, and boy, that does not feel safe. I am pro safety. I'm a pro safety game developer. No one would say a damn thing, because it's like, oh, okay, weirdo. But yeah, there's a time for it. It's about timing. He poked the bear when she was. Well, again, this is a tweet directly talking about a case that refused to be seen by the Supreme Court. I feel like what Final does with things with a duty for. You know what's funny, Shadow Grove? When I wrote that, when I had some of these ideas, after I wrote most of it, I was like, I wonder what 14 does, because that's how ignorant I am about endgame in 14. And so I was looking, I'm like, okay, cool. They deal with these tomestones, and like they do tomestones for like old content, for old content, and then they do different tomestones for like current expansion content. Okay, so it's kind of similar. And I also noticed that before 14 had a really convoluted system of having all these different currencies before they weaved their way into a unified currency. But the idea that I have is different. I'm talking about, hey, you're going to get justice points from an old ass world quest. You're going to get it from an old world boss, or an old boss, or old dungeon, old raid, or whatever. And then valor points are just something that exists strictly in the current season, and then you get like you get little crumbs of it from all of the content. So it's a bit different with respect to just how WoW does its weirdness with scaling and all that. I feel like players should be exempt from the faction war. I kind of feel the same way about that too. What makes Russ sad about this Legion plus time walking thing is that it's good and fun. It's a good and fun idea, but sadly, once Min-Maxers sims a Legion Mythic Plus item drop that does even a little bit better, that performs better, it's going to be pandemonium. Suddenly, instead of fun, it's going to be devs are punishing players. It's a risky thing with what they're doing with Legion Mythic Plus time walking. Now the impact of this, I feel, is so far going to be kind of minimal, because we're in mid-season again. There's a lot of people that are like totally fine with their KSMs and all that stuff. And the problem of the 0.1% drop being better is mostly something that is advantageous for the very high-end players who are doing 20s and higher. People that are just trying to get their vaults and their 15s and stuff, hardly necessary, because if they're able to do Legion Mythic Plus at a high level, then they're able to do normal Mythic Plus at a high level. So I'm not quite, so it's harder to see where the problem is, because if you're that good, then you're already good. What's the problem? I think it is going to be a matter of how they're going to do the scaling. And again, we haven't, Legion time walking isn't testable yet, so it still remains to be seen like how good that's going to be. But yeah, I brought up the concern earlier too, that it's going to be all about the trinkets. And I think there's like small set bonuses that come from some dungeon gear. But I think it's going to be mostly like with the trinkets that people are going to take issue with. Like, oh, this trinket happens to be like really, really good. And it's a matter of, is that, one thing that I'm curious about is that there's only going to be a small selection of dungeons that are available for Mythic Plus. Is the dungeon pool going to be limited to those dungeons? Because if so, okay, it would be kind of awkward if you were to get gear. Actually, you wouldn't be able to. Yeah, that problem solves itself. My apologies. Because you're not going to get the Legion pool of gear from the Great Vaults. You're only going to get stuff at the end of a dungeon run. And then, of course, you can upgrade it depending on your Keystone Master, Keystone Challenger, whatever level that is. And that's it. So I think the onus is going to be, one, on Blizzard to balance this thing well, but two, also with the players who are like seeing, oh yeah, this happens to sim like slightly better, but I don't know, the effort that goes into something like that is so small that I don't know, it's hard for me to be like really, really upset over it. But people have been more upset over less. So Shruxton says that you can have factions without segregation. Yeah, I think I'm just going to really sit down with folks when I explain to people like what I mean about dissolving the divide, letting players play together, but still retaining. When I've made videos like these, I've tried my best to say the faction war is not ending. The Horde and Alliance can still be at each other's throats. It's just a matter of what our involvement is with it. But then I get replies to what I guess they just look at the title. I'm sure they're not even reading, listening or reading or looking at the content, and they're just like, no, this isn't War of Peacecraft. I'm like, I said nothing about this. Good God, watch the video. Sheesh. But I'm still gonna try to hammer that point through and spread that message, because I'd like to think that I've been talking smack about player housing so much that it's done. That I think I moved the needle just a little bit, that more people are talking about it. To a lesser extent, the faction divide. I'm trying my best to spread that message, and so are other people. So what I can say, if this happens in the next expansion, it's like what I tell people in a raid. Even though they were dead for like 90% of it, I can tell myself whatever it is that I did helped. Okay, whatever it was that I did. Let's see. I've had a wish for years: make a bard class that lets you pick specs from other classes, and you're a dragon for. Well, that's weird. I don't think there's a problem with the factions. I don't like the racial segregation that's included with it. Let me choose my faction independent of race, please. So maybe I'll talk about this point, but I don't really buy into races ever joining the opposite faction, per se. I imagine them being neutral, which is like the whole point that I have, but I don't imagine an orc ever saying for the Alliance. Not really. I imagine them going like the Thrall route and being like, you know what, I will stand for peace. I will stand against my own people if it means that we can have a peace between everybody. That's as far as it goes. I don't imagine an orc planting the flag of ownership on another orc and being like Loktar for the Alliance and all that stuff. Not really. But I can see a disassociation with that, with the whole thing entirely. It's like everyone joins the Earthen Ring or something like that. I don't want glue-eating allies in my horde, but I would play a Draenei or a Dark Iron Dwarf. See? See, the narrative. I feel that narrator-wise and lore, sure, but there are times where we stop kicking the shit out of each other to fight something bigger. Even in BFA, it was it's been the thing with every single expansion. It's either the Horde and Alliance come together to fight the big bad, or the Horde and Alliance aren't involved. That's it. They weren't really involved with Deathwing. They weren't really involved with Legion. Yeah, the Horde and Alliance involvement in Legion was Broken Shore, where they didn't fight against each other. They fought alongside each other, and then they got decimated, and then they were pretty much taken out of the story except for Stormheim. But otherwise, Legion was not about the Horde and Alliance, except for, Greymane's forces hold this tower, break their ranks, show them no. Yeah, see, I remember too. I'm traumatized just like the rest of you guys. But yeah, there's so many more instances where players, the champions, put aside their differences and they join up with like-minded NPCs who put aside their differences. What's it called? Warlords was awkward in the way that they handled that, because it started off as, we're thrown into this weird. We're thrown into another world. We create, Horde and Alliance. They end up splitting off. Horde players and Alliance players, they end up splitting off, making their own garrisons. Setting up their own encampments, and somehow keep fighting each other for like no reason. I feel like it's no reason. It's not good enough. It's like, oh yeah, Ashran has resources that we can get. What you do? But the Horde and Alliance conflict stayed there for the most part. It was just there, and it was the fact that there were two garrisons on opposite sides of the continent or world or whatever, and otherwise, you were playing, you were playing like a different, you were just playing different shit. So I don't know, it's weird. And so I can see why people will get confused over the fact that Horde and Alliance characters or races can start playing together. But it's about being bigger than that, because it's always been bigger than that. And now I hope to see the game take it seriously. Let's see. I worked here and there with the PR team of WoW lately. Really? And what I found that the PR team is it directly for all the games and not for one game that starts out for sure. I didn't think of that, but being so shady about, especially in the powder in time space. Okay. I'm too humble. My greatest. Didn't we talk about that one time, Mac? It's like, oh yeah, my greatest. The best thing about myself is that I'm so fucking humble. Oh god, I'm the humblest person. You wouldn't believe. And see, they're testing the waters with Legion Mythic Plus. That'd be fun to see, like a whole. To see like rotating Mythic Plus time walking things with like everything. That'd be really neat. Hi, Betty. I think the limited pool might have to do with some of the items available from the dungeons that aren't in the pool. I would think that if they wanted to to not include items, they just wouldn't include the items. They'd be like, okay, this trinket won't drop. Sorry, not part of the loot table. Too bad, so sad. It's either that or we don't have the whole dungeon at all. But I think they just wanted to have a limited pool because they didn't want to. I guess they didn't want to funnel people in there like too much. But I think it still might be pretty fun. Garrosh screaming for the Alliance. Yeah, that sounds so awkward. Garrosh Angel scream. Not weird. Dragons change shape. That's the thing, though. Like, I don't think there needs to be a new race to bridge the factions or anything. We already have pandas that kind of bridge it. And apparently, like it or not, we have high elves. We have high. I joke about it, but I'm also pretty serious about it. We have high elf. We have Horde high elves, and we have Alliance high elves. That's what it's gonna be. It took a while, but the Pandaren like experience for the elves is now over. And now you can just roll as both, and they look the same, and like that's it. That's the way that Blizzard killed the debate. They just gave Horde and Alliance both, and they're telling us to shut up. So do what you want. Or about breaking Horde and Alliance up and making all factions in the game a faction people can join scenarios or Dark Iron Wars or Booty Bay. I'm not quite sure how serious you are about that idea, Lo-Fi, but I see it as so simple. It feels really, really simple in my head. Just let the champions play together, but retain everything else. You can still, it's just a matter of, oh, this quest is faction specific. I can't party with you for this one. It's the same as, oh, I'm doing a class specific quest, or I'm doing a race specific quest. You can't do this quest with me. Okay, that's fine. That's it. That's all it is. Can't do these quests together. It makes BFA feel really awkward. Whoops. But outside of that, being able to party and do dungeons and do PvP together, that's cool. I feel like, some other folks have said, oh, why don't we just, leave everything alone, but just whenever we're in a party or in a raid or PvP, then we can play together for the sake of gameplay, so we get the best of both worlds. So we get the gameplay with people playing together, and the Horde and Alliance can still kill each other. But I think that's half-assed. I think that causes too much awkwardness that doesn't need to be there. I firmly believe that everything can still be retained, but people can be in the same guild, people can be in the same community, and that's it. Everything else just feels dumb. Like it wouldn't make sense to be like, oh yeah, we can do mythic raids between Horde and Alliance players, Horde races and Alliance races, but we can't be in the same guild together. We can't share a guild bank. We need two guild banks, one for the Horde side, one for the Alliance side, and that That just doesn't make sense. That's half-assing it. Just go all the way. No truces. They killed that hottie Rasta. There is no truce. Damn it. What did I say? See how hard it is for people to get it through to their heads. The Horde and Alliance don't need to change. We do. That's it. That's it. Let's see. WoD was basically an isekai anime. Yeah, not far off from that, huh? Let's see. You take your pet goblin to Borealis and you wink to the guard there. Yo, he's with me. Yeah. You love Rasta Man. Okay, so we're caught up with that. So I'm going to be talking about that throughout the week. You actually kind of bounced off a couple of ideas that I can use to make stronger arguments. And this is going to be a persuasive thing. I'm going to try to persuade people to think my way, which is to say that I'm going to say that a lot of people are wrong, which is divisive. But I'm really, really passionate about this. I really want this thing to snowball. And for people to be like, you know what? Maybe I don't like this and this and this, but I think Soul's got a point. I think this can work. And that's what I'm going to try to do. Try to find a way to make it work. But a big part of that is to convince the player to not be racist. We just gotta patch racism out, and then everything will be like cool. Because the way I see it, like to get the people to play together, again, so little needs to change that it might feel really jarring. People probably feel like, oh, there needs to be a quest line that brings people together and blah blah blah. But you know what? We see that all the time. We see it all the time because we see Khadgar doing a quest line where, you know, we need to come together and blah blah blah, so let's do it. And then ta-da, all of a sudden we're working together. We can still flag ourselves for PvP or go into war mode and kill each other's faces, but otherwise, you know, it's already written into the story. It's just that it gets written out as well. It's kind of like how Legion was, you know. What were we doing in patch 7.3? We were part of the armies of Legion Fall, and we traveled over to Argus, and we were helping out all of them goat people on the Vindicar. You know, we were all Draenei for a little bit, and we were teaming up with Velen and Illidan and doing stuff. And when it was all over, you know, Velen breathed a sigh of relief, and it's like, oh man, you know, we worked together and we beat back the baddest thing in the universe at the time, at least. And there's a sword in Azeroth's back, and we got to do something about it. So that's going to be the next thing. We're going to work together to beat that back. Nope, that didn't happen, because the story immediately weaved back in, or shoved back in, the whole Horde versus Alliance thing. And it made NPCs and players alike being like, its own sigh of disappointment. Like, wow, really? This is going to be a thing. Red Shirt Guy sent a tweet a little while ago, yesterday, something like that, wondering why it is that Shadowlands as a theme, as an environment, seems to be so unpopular. There's a lot of folks that are just railing against it. And a lot of people had their takes. Some of them were hotter than others. Mine is that we didn't need to go to the Shadowlands now. You know, after patch 8.2.5, when Sylvanas kind of, you know, yeets out, you know, turns into a little smoky thing and like goes away, she didn't have to come back for a while. She could have taken her, you know, like at that point, the story could have taken its sweet ass time with Sylvanas coming back. It could have been an expansion. It could have been 2 expansions. Like, here's what could have happened. It could have been, okay, Sylvanas eats out, bye. And then we deal with Nyalotha in patch 8.3. And then in this new vision of patch 9.0, maybe we'll still be dealing with the old gods. Or maybe we'll go off to the Dragon Isles because of some reason. Maybe there can be this overarching thing where it's like, okay, we're going to take it over the sword now. There's a big sword in Azeroth's back. It's not going anywhere. And, you know, it looks really uncomfortable. So let's find a way to kill it. And maybe there might be content based around that, and there might be a raid under the sword or inside the sword or something like that. And, that'd be kind of cool. And then after that expansion's over, then all of a sudden, oh ho ho, Sylvanas, it's me. She just comes back. Here's what happened while I was gone. And the mysterious chains and yada yada yada. And then we can get to that. It could have been that way. I think it should have been that way. Because going back to why I think Shadowlands as a theme didn't take off, it's because there's significant problems at home still. There's a lot of stuff we gotta do, and going straight into what Sylvanas is up to right after she leaves feels too fast, I guess. It feels too fast. So fast that we forgot about the big sword in Azeroth's back for what's going to be 2 expansions now. Unless, for whatever reason, 9.3 or even 9.2 addresses the sword. Then I can be like, well, okay. But at least for now, that's the kind of narrative that I can write. And so far, I'm correct. Haha. I would wish that WoW gets more on the ground again, not just killing only godlike creatures. I want to deal with the Defia stuff and like housing and housing and so on and so forth. When did Sylvanas become a special Mickey Mouse? Well, that's because that's her thing. Ho ho, look at me. For the Horde. Whatever. I think part of the problem is going to the Death Realm amidst of a pandemic. It was too on the nose. I don't know about that. Yeah, I don't think that would be too on the nose. Too on the nose would be like, in the next expansion, a mysterious disease is plaguing Azeroth, and now we need to solve it. That would be really on the nose. That'd be like, read the room, dude. And then we'll see Ian say, it has nothing to do with the pandemic. This is magic, okay? It's magic. And we're supposed to be like, oh, okay, it's magic. It's totally okay. Let's see. Would you like to write with me more an idea like that? Oh, like a something more grounded? It's easy. Okay, it's not easy. I actually tried to write what could possibly be a more grounded expansion story. For something that's new, and I've joked about it a lot. You guys have heard it, the beach expansion, where the main plot is trying to get Thrall to like the hottest concert in Azeroth and for his kids, and his kids are like, Thrall, you want to go? And Thrall's like, I'm trying. Fucker, Ticketmaster is a piece of shit, and that'd be the story. But as something a bit more serious, the bullet points that came to mind were. Is that the next expansion would be very personal. There's someone after us. There's someone after the champion of Azeroth. Wants to kill him. We don't know why. But they're trying to undermine reconstruction efforts. So, that we're zipping around trying to help people out. But there's someone either trying to undermine us or try to make us look bad. And then we uncover this plot where it's just a very highly motivated individual that wants us dead and wants to see, that's where I kind of stopped because I kind of lost myself. I'm like, I don't know where I'm going with this. F this, and that was the end of that. But I can definitely see something more grounded. It doesn't need to. We've dealt with the end of the universe and the end of everything so much that I can do with something else, and that's why I'm hoping that this. I am hoping for a 9.3 in Shadowlands because I want to see like this. I want to see I don't know if it's going to be satisfying or not, but I want to see a conclusion to this entire arc. This whole what I call an age of chaos that started with Miss Pandaria. Because it's been nonstop, started with, okay, let's explore this new land, blah blah blah, and then it ends with, the orc trying to destroy everything, trying to destroy everybody, and then time traveling off to an alternate dimension, and then the alternate dimension tries to join up with Azeroth, and then we got to beat that back. But then someone from this alternate dimension gets sucked into our Azeroth and is used to kick off the events of a massive demonic invasion. And then once that's destroyed, it ends with a giant sword in Azeroth's back, and it causes conflicts, and it causes all this infighting between the two bigger factions. And from that, the world is getting weakened, and all of a sudden the Zoth comes out and it's like, yeah, I'm gonna get you tentacle hentai stuff. And in the meantime, you have Sylvanas, who apparently is plotting and doing all these things like this entire time and trying to build up the end of everything. And so now here we are trying to prevent the end of everything. And where do you go from there? I don't know, dude. My hope is that all of these things come to this sort of conclusive pause, not an end, but a conclusive pause that lets us be like, okay, you know, I'm holding this up here and here and here. I think we can pause for a second, okay? I think we can pause for just a second and build a beach house, okay? I think we can do that, maybe, because it's out of control. It's out of control. So my hope is that there's a 9.2 and there's a 9.3 that gives enough story leeway to end what's going on right now. I think that this entire arc, this entire era of the World of Warcraft, you know, there was the vanilla to the vanilla to like Cataclysm era, and then now it's the Mist of Pandaria to Shadowlands era. And I hope that it comes to an end here. And then we start to go off in a new direction. Because right now it's been kind of weird, kind of jank, but you know, it is what it is. What I don't get, the Horde BFA story with Sylvanas still doesn't explain in the Shadowlands what she was doing. You know, that did kind of piss me off too. I remember, I think it was Denuser that said, "Oh yeah, you're gonna find out right away what she's doing." But nah, that's you know, what we got didn't satisfy me, at least. It's like, okay, she clearly wants Anduin for a thing, but we don't know what the thing is still, because we need to find out what the jailer is up to, and we still don't quite know what the jailer is up to, except for I want to remake everything in my image or whatever, and all will serve me, and like that's it. Okay, that's all right. That's what it is. Cool. Let's work with it. But yeah, I do want to see this end at some point. I want to see a new generation of dudes. You know, the other folks, they're still around. You know, there's been so much story that they're still kind of young, and you know, there's still room for them to grow and grow old. I want to see people actually grow old and die in Warcraft instead of they have to get killed. Can't they just retire? Can't they just like kind of do their thing and all that, or step aside for the new generation? Like, show me what's his name, I forgot his name. Sorry guys, the kid of Alarian Terralion. I want to see something that comes from him. I'm wary about hearing about Thrall's kid because people are going to be like, ugh, Metzen's kid, great. They retired to the Shadowlands, good one. Yeah, there we go. Arathor the Redeemer, or whatever his name is. Yeah, I want to see new characters be introduced, a new generation of heroes, while the others just kind of kick back and be like, "Oh, there they go again, that Horde on the Lions." And Thrall's like, "Yep, I don't want to watch this. I'm going to make more babies." Yeah, okay, I'm with you, and that's it. We've had a few guys retire that just keep coming back. Yeah. I mean, Thrall just kind of, you know. If you're talking about Thrall, Mac, Thrall just kind of slinked away. It's like he got slapped around, he got depowered, and he's like, "Oh, okay, I'm sad. I'm gonna go to the room of space and time over in Draenor and, you know, pump it up." And now we have him all juiced up and all that. I do wonder, you know, aside from probably Sylvanas, who else is gonna stay in the Shadowlands, so to speak? Not before Sylvanas reunites with Nathanos in a beautiful love story, and then they're gonna make out right in front of us, and we're gonna be like, do I fire the shot now, guys? Do I put him out of the misery? I can do it. It's right there. Come on. Boop. And there we go. You think Bolvar will stay? I wouldn't be surprised to see Bolvar stay either. But he's not dead, right? Sort of a god. Hey, Saul, I'm a big fan. Thank you. Yay! It's good. It's always good to have visitors. Also, Vanna stays there. We don't need to kill her. Well, I think technically she's still mortal, right? Because she's undead. If they kill her now, like, will she be like put into the process? Although the process is broken. I mean, right now, the Shadowlands seems to be totally broken, right? Like, now souls. Yeah, what happens to souls now? Like, do they still go into the mob? Because, well, I guess so, because the Arbiter was like disabled and wasn't doing anything anyway. And all the jailer did was get his own powers back. So he's like, yeah, I got the power again. Woo! And off I go. So he doesn't really need the souls anymore. He got what he wanted. So whatever's going on there, I guess, can be repaired, or maybe that can finally be resolved because now the jailer is left the maw. I don't know. It's like the covenants can be like, all right, guys, now that we're here, we can make a big ass net, catch all these souls, and then do things with them. And then people will be like, so what do? We don't have an arbiter. We don't have the arbiter program anymore. They'll be like, someone's got to think of something. It's like letting trash pile up that needs to be like processed and sorted, and now there's nothing doing it. Last thing I need is another Nazoth fever dream. Still no arbiter souls, just pile up, and yeah, I think they just pile up. Can the primers make a new arbiter seal thing like we did for all the covenants? Maybe, I don't know. That could be like the long-term sort of plan. Yeah, because right now they need something. There must always be a jailer or a Zoval, or you know what I mean. My own personal preference was to let the jailer win and unmake everything, and then boom, WoW 2 gets announced. Yeah, that would go off really well. Hey guys, so the 17 years that you put into the World of Warcraft, whoop, gone. You're gonna give us our money into this game instead. Yeah, that would not go well at all. And there's no good way about it. You can't say, okay, we're going to port all of the old data from the old expansion to the new one. But you know what that is? That's just making a new expansion. That's all that is. Literally, that's all that it is. If you were to move everything over, that's yeah. It's like an expansion that they put more time into. But what's even worse is that it's like another cataclysm. Like you can't, you wouldn't be able to easily go back into the old content without causing like a huge mess. I don't see a WoW 2 doing anything. It would do nothing to solve people's concerns. No one has successfully convinced me that a WoW 2 is a good idea in any scenario. WoW 2 is a delusion being pushed by some content creators to rile up the masses. Oh yeah, that's all it is to me. It means nothing. It's a platitude. It's more than wishful thinking. It's like, wow, they should just make a new WoW engine and blah blah blah. Yeah, because it's the exact same engine that we've been working with this whole time, right? Nope. WoW 2 just needs to be an upgrade to the engine. Yeah, but here's the thing, Mac. Every expansion is an upgrade to the engine. Every patch is an upgrade to the engine. What people are asking for here is like 10 years worth of expansion put into one expansion with regards to quality of life upgrades and potential, and other such things, and rebuilding certain systems, whatever. And that's a tough ask, I think. How else do you make people cry for classic? Well, Baroque, if you don't remake the world, I'm not quite sure what you mean there. 9-2 will explain this stuff. I'm pretty sure Forge Dragon will sacrifice himself again to keep someone sealed. That'd be boring. You know, I could see there being like a mini twist there where Bolvar's like, yes, I will sacrifice myself, you know, to save the Shadowlands. And he walks up and suddenly, boom, and he gets smacked out of the way. She's like, no, I don't think so. It's up to me, you know. It could be Sylvanas that does something like that. And that's something interesting that I haven't talked about. I haven't seriously talked about the lore, or like the latest cinematic, and I guess I'll take a minute to rant over that now. The whole deal with splitting the souls I found to be pretty interesting, because it happened with Uther, it happened with Sylvanas, and who knows who else it happened to. The way that it seemed to be explained in the Grimoire book, which I still haven't read yet. I have it now. I finally got it from my house the other day, but I still haven't read through it. Maybe I'll take time to read it sometime. Is that it's kind of like taking a snapshot of your memories. So, you know, the person. So, I can't think of a good way to explain this, but like when Sylvanas had her soul split, which I don't even know when that was necessarily. It could have been as far back as her very first death at the hands of Arthas. It could have been Cataclysm, it could have been any, but so let's just pretend that I know what I'm talking about, and we'll say that it's on her first death, thanks to Frostmourne. Thanks, Frostmourne, for causing so much misery in the Warcraft universe. So she gets killed, which means that that inside Frostmourne was a snapshot of Sylvanas up to the point of her first death. So it's the Sylvanas that was defending Silvermoon City and failed. But it was a Sylvanas who was defending Silvermoon, had a certain mindset. It's a Sylvanas that has no memory of the events that happened afterwards, because technically, like, she was just kind of suspended at that point. And then you have the Sylvanas of now, you know. But when you have those two kind of memories come together, I don't know, like it's weird, but it's kind of like I'm trying to imagine how that would feel like the me of right now, 2021, versus the me of 20 years ago, like you know, in college or whatever, you know, and the mindset that I had back then. And, you know, my motivations, kind of person that I was, all of a sudden, it's like that old side of me comes to the surface. You know, it becomes fresh and dominant, and it tries to conflict with the jaded, grizzled, depressed version of me now. And it's hard to, I never really thought of a mental state like that. And that sounds interesting. Because you're still you just remember, you know, you still remember things. It's just that the old you is much more fresh in your memory, as if you knew how that felt. And I guess there comes this sort of conflict where you're still probably a jackass, but you kind of understand like the person that you were before, and you can cut. I guess it's more like, you know, the realization of, oh man, I was that person once upon a time. What happened to me? Maybe that's sort of what's going on. Maybe we'll explore that with Sylvanas as soon as we get into like 9.2 content, or we get into I guess the book and the patch are going to kind of coincide with each other, since there was that delay to February. So for those who aren't sure, yeah, 9.2 is probably going to be sometime in February because of the way the book was pushed back. I don't know if people realize that, so oh well. Must not let him reach the sun. You think the sun? Well, I thought it was pretty clear that it was like the sepulcher or whatever that we're talking about. If Silvermoon had rooftops for the archers to shoot from, they might have been successful. I mean, they had turrets and stuff, but then those were like disabled and all that. Let's see. She lost her emotions when she died too, so she's getting all of that back. That's got to be fun. the way I don't know, like the way it seemed to be, like whenever you're raised from the dead, it's like you lose certain things, like you don't get certain things back when you raise back up. It's like, okay, we got the soul, we got the memories and things like that, but yeah, we're missing things like compassion and all that. Why can't being raised from the dead cleanse you of all the bad thoughts, right? Why does it always got to be like the good thoughts and makes you bad? What if being raised from the dead made you such a goody, right? That people just wanted you to become the undead. It's like, yeah, Jeff was a total dick, but yeah, Necromancer, if you want to raise him up, then Jeff won't be like such an asshole. Gosh. Jeff comes back, hey guys, I know the skin's not looking so great, but I'd be happy to help out with whatever things. And I can't believe the person that I was before. Thank you so much, guys. Why can't everyone be undead like me? Let's see. Dun. That snapshot is okay. She lost her emotions. And then that snapshot is reevaluating her life afterward. Yeah, that's nuts. Yeah, I wonder, like, if she does get some of that personality back with the way the soul was split. It's very confusing. I'm not gonna dwell into it too much because trying would just probably frustrate me. Let's see. And I think that'll be good for today, right, guys? Right.